Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Carlos Diego Ferreira versus Michael Johnson. This is a fight between two very respected, solid veterans. Of course, Michael Johnson is the veteran of veterans at this point. And Carlos Diego Ferreira, he's been kicking ass in the UFC for a long time. He's coming off a big layoff, year and a half long layoff, and he's coming off 3 losses, which is, the anomaly in his career, needless to say. He's 38 years old now. He's got a record of 17-5, and he's giving up 1 inch of height, and I think they have the same reach. I don't even know. To 21-18, Michael Johnson. Johnson is 36 years old. He's been in there with every fighter in UFC history in the lightweight division and featherweight and welterweight and whatever. But he's definitely got a lot of mileage on him, but still looking good. I brought up the momentum and how Carlos Diego Ferreira's got none on 3 consecutive losses. Michael Johnson could have 3 consecutive wins. The fight with Jamie Malarkey was razor thin, and he beat Alan Patrick and Mark Giacchese. And beating Mark Giacchese really impressed me. He lost the first round and then took over. Just better punches, better work rate, and took over that fight down the stretch. Looked like the solid veteran there. And that's the thing with Johnson. Johnson, if he's on the feet with someone, he's most likely going to win the stand-up battle. He's been beaten a few times on the feet, stopped a few times even. Justin Gaethje, Josh Emmett got him out of there in round 3. But generally, where Johnson's lost, the majority of his 18 losses, it's on the ground. He's lost 9 times by submission, just the 2 knockouts that I mentioned, and 7 decisions. And they've been throughout the years to many great fighters in the UFC. We're talking Khabib Nurmagomedov, Justin Gaethje, Darren Elkins, Thiago Moises, Clay Guida, Stevie Ray, whoever the hell else. But Michael Johnson's wins are still pretty damn impressive as well. Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier knocked him out. I'm sure you've seen it. That was a main event of a fight night too, I believe. Just Johnson is definitely, he's had quite a career. I guess you could say he's had more shitty moments than more great moments, but he's still going, and he's got a lot of momentum. And beating Carlos Diego Ferreira would be a great moment for him, no doubt about it. And I'm picking him to do it. I think he's at a distinct jiu-jitsu advantage, but I don't think Diego Ferreira's got the wrestling to get Michael Johnson down. Not before this fight totally settles into a stand-up fight, which is where I think it will settle. And there I favor Michael Johnson, but I'll tell you, Carlos Diego Ferreira's had really underrated striking for a long time. He had those 2 consecutive victories over Rustam Khabilov and Mirbek Taisumov, where I think I was the only one picking him to win. But he won those fights on the feet. The guy, he's really, really dangerous on the ground. But on the feet as well, he's got really good striking, some good pop at his punches, and some just really good straight punches that he puts together with great volume. And winning decisions over those guys, especially Khabilov, that was very surprising. Taisomov's more of a knockout artist, so winning the point battle wasn't too surprising there, but it was a great victory. And Diego Ferreira grabbed everybody's respect there. Then he parlayed it all into a big submission finish over Anthony Pettis. And since then, he's run into trouble. He's had 3 consecutive losses, and they are to Gregor Gillespie, who beat him by fatigue pretty much. Got him out of there with ground and pound, but Diego Ferreira was winning, dominating, almost had him out of there in round 1. Just had an answer for everything with his jiu-jitsu. And then in round 2, the answer started disappearing, and Gregor kept coming, and then Gregor got him out of there. Just advanced once he won the jiu-jitsu battle, once he settled into the full mount, and then started pounding away, it was over. But Diego Ferreira, his other losses too, they're excellent fighters as well. Mateusz Gamrot beat him. Gamrot was out wrestling him, but that was an injury. which, it still makes him weaker as a fighter. The body's the body, but it was an injury. He was kneed to the ribs, and something happened there, and he was just fucked up, and he waved the fight off to the ref. And before that, he lost to Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush, he is going to be fighting for a title, hopefully, pretty soon. Probably should have fought for one like a year ago. And but Beneil Dariush beat him pretty clearly, in my opinion, by points. But it was still a very close fight, despite being clear. I thought Diego Ferreira won round 3, was competitive throughout the fight, early especially. And, even though it goes down as kind of a lopsided victory, it was not that. Of course, that's one of his other losses as well, was the first fight to Beneil Dariush. Dariush beat him twice. And that was another decision fight. Dariush is just a stylistically nightmarish matchup for Diego Ferreira, in my opinion. And then the other loss, it comes to Dustin Poirier, who knocked him out. Knocked him out, 7 years ago or something like that. Poirier's Poirier. He's still going, one of the best fighters in the world today. No shame in that. But overall, despite him being knocked out only once, and then the other TKOs coming from injury on the ground and full mount exhaustion, I think the fact that he's 38, combined with the way Johnson has looked, and with the 1.5-year layoff for Diego Ferreira, I'm favoring Johnson here. I'm favoring Johnson. I think Johnson's got the more likely chance of getting a knockout. But also, if this fight goes to a decision, I'd favor Michael Johnson there as well. I think Diego Ferreira wouldn't, he's got to get Michael Johnson down to win this fight, which he doesn't exactly have to. But I think in my head, if Johnson's going to win the stand-up battle, then yeah, he does. Diego Ferreira, even though I do respect him a lot as a striker, I just think Michael Johnson's going to have his number. Michael Johnson's chin should hold up, at least on paper here. And Michael Johnson, the way he looked recently, taking over that fight with Mark Giacchese, and almost beating Malarkey, but also knocking out Patrick in round 2. I'm picking him to win. Picking him, that the guy I've seen recently versus the guy I'm expecting to see from Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira is such a great fighter too. He's a guy who he's been one of my favorite fighters for a long time, and I wanted him to reach that title. And it broke my heart when he started losing those fights. The Dariush one didn't sting so much, but the last two, to Gillespie and Gamrot, really stung. And since then, it's only been 1.5 years, and everybody's moved on, and here he is coming back. He could get a lot of momentum if he beats Michael Johnson, especially if he finishes him, which I know it's been done plenty of times before, but he's still a big, solid enough name with enough current merit that would mean something. But I'm picking against Diego. I think he's, going to run into trouble anywhere. On the ground, he's not going to run into too much trouble, but he might get fatigue himself. And on the feet, I'm expecting Johnson to be leading the dance, especially down the stretch. So Michael Johnson is the pick. If I had a gun to my head, I'd go with a late stoppage, maybe a round 2 stoppage or something. But I'm just playing his money line, plus 135. 135 is where it's at now. I thought there was value on it when it was plus 120. But now it's definitely my play, because with all things being even, he'd be my pick. So, Michael Johnson. Like, share, subscribe, all that horseshit. Check out my other videos and what is in my eye. I don't know.